members present, so we've got a quorum. Mr. Prieto, before we announce item number 1, I do want to let the members of the audience know that at 3 o'clock sharp, we will be having a joint budget and energy and environment committee, and so we need to wrap up our business by then so that we can stay on time. With that, I only have speaker cards. If anybody has not had an opportunity to fill out a request to address the committee, they should do so now. But at the moment, I only have, and correct me wrong if I'm wrong, Mr. Clerk, cards on item number 1 and item number 4.
That's correct.
Very good. Understanding that we don't have any cards on item number 2 or item number 3, unless there's an objection, I'd like to put those items on consent. Hearing and seeing no objection, those items will move out on consent unanimously. Very good. Mr. Prieto, item number 1.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Item number 1. Consideration and recommendations of City Council, City Attorney, and Bureau of Sanitation reports ordinance relative to the final environmental impact report concerning the exclusive commercial multifamily solid waste franchise collection system. We have staff from Bureau of Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Prieto. Welcome, Mr. Saldivar. If you'd like to make your presentation on item number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, honorable council members. My name is Enrique Carlos Zaldivar. I'm the general manager of the Bureau of Sanitation. I throw in the middle name in case. From the time the City Council approved the motion introduced by Councilmember Weiser and Councilmember Koretz back in November of 2010, directing sanitation to explore the feasibility of a franchise service model for the collection of solid waste for the non-city service sectors, namely the commercial and large multifamily sectors. Significant progress has been made in this endeavor. Council has approved a franchise implementation plan back in April of 2013 with an exclusive franchise model as a basic premise. Council also instructed sanitation to prepare an environmental impact report for the franchise project and instructed the city attorney to prepare the enabling ordinance. Today, we present to you the final EIR for your consideration and approval, and the city attorney will present the companion ordinance. Thank you. I will ask Karen to give you a summarized presentation of the final EIR.
Thank you. Karen Koka, Bureau of Sanitation. In front of you, members, you have a extremely brief presentation. Just want to go over some of the major points and the recommendations. When the City Council acted to adopt the final implementation plan for the exclusive franchise hauling system, they also adopted 10 goals. Amongst those were to establish 11 franchise collection zones, meet the city's zero waste mandates through this program, including that every commercial establishment will have a blue recycling system in place, require routing that's efficient and smart and that gets us the lowest emissions possible through also the purchase of green fuel vehicles, provide reliable system infrastructure, improve health and safety for solid waste workers, improve the level of customer service, fair and equitable rates across the city, and to foster long-term competition. In the preparation of the EIR, there were certain topics that were identified as key topics. They include traffic, air quality, public services, solid waste, land use, and then the cumulative impacts were all areas that were analyzed. The council specifically directed us to analyze alternatives to the proposed project that included a non-exclusive franchise system, a exclusive system with multiple haulers in each zone, and city collection of all material, as well as the no project alternative, which is always analyzed in an EIR. As you can see in the graphic, what we're looking at is a fundamental change in the system. Although the no project alternative is slightly less in VMT, what happens is you don't get the diversion, you don't get the clean fuel, you don't get the lower emissions, and therefore the no project does not meet the goals that were established by the City Council. The findings of the EIR include that the proposed project, as well as Alternative 3, which would be city collection of all materials, are the environmentally superior alternatives. The reason that the non-exclusive and the multiple hauler options were ranked lower as far as environmentally is because they would result in greater air quality and GHG impacts due to the collection of the recyclables as well as the trash. So with that, the recommendations that are before you, and let me make sure I get these right. We're recommending that you certify the final program EIR for the citywide exclusive franchise system for municipal solid waste collection and handling, that it complies with the California Environmental Quality Act, reflects the lead agency's independent judgment and analysis, and was presented to City Council, which reviewed and considered the information in the final program EIR before approving the project. We recommend that you adopt the CEQA findings, you adopt the statement of overriding considerations, adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, specify the location and custodian of the documents or other materials that can constitute the record of proceedings upon which the lead agency's decision is based, and as stated in the CEQA findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations, that you adopt the proposed project for the implementation of the citywide exclusive franchise system for municipal solid waste collection and handling, that you authorize city staff to prepare and file a notice of determination with the California State Clearinghouse and with the county clerk within 5 working days of approval of the proposed project by the full city council, and that you approve the final ordinance for the exclusive franchise system for municipal solid waste collection and handling, which is transmitted under a separate cover. The city attorney's office is here, as well as those of us and our consultant, to answer any questions that you might have.
Any additional testimony on the presentation? Members, before we go to a debate, why don't we go ahead and have members of the public come in and testify. We're going to give them 1 minute apiece, so this way we can go ahead and have a debate after that. The room, unfortunately, is at capacity, and if there are members of the public who have been unable to get in and have a need to speak, I'm going to ask the folks whom I do ask to address us to give them room to be able to come in, because I know there are some folks outside who would like to speak. If we may have Robert Spurgeon, Adrian Martinez, and George, I think it's Watland, come on up. We'll begin with those 3. Whomever is ready.
Chairman Fuentes, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Robert Spurgeon of Spurgeon and Associates. I'm here standing in for Jaime Garcia with the Hospital Council, who's in Sacramento on business today. I had a question and a clarification on the draft ordinance. I'm wondering if there's opportunities for comment. As a case in point, one of the section 66.25B refers to any person whose identifying information is found on the deposit of solid waste of any kind whatsoever shall be subject to administrative penalties. We're concerned that might violate patient privacy, federal and state laws. So I'm curious as to the process of getting from this draft to the final ordinance, and if there's an opportunity to make sure that any clarification points can be dealt with.
Very good. The department staff's here to hear concerns, so there isn't a back and forth, but I'm sure they're making annotations here so they can address it.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Adrian Martinez, and I'm here on behalf of Earth Justice. I'm here today to support moving forward with this, the recommendations that were proposed. This has been a long road to get here, and I'm very excited that we are kind of near the finish line for improving the waste system. This started a long time ago, and I've participated in a lot of public hearings. I think a lot of the questions have been answered multiple times. And I think the big issue here is this program's good for the environment, it's good for the city, and it's good to fix what is a broken system for waste hauling. And I'm excited to move forward and show my support and full counsel should it leave this committee today. Thank you.
Hello, my name is George Watman. I'm co-director of the Angeles chapter of the Sierra Club. Thank you for this opportunity to share my comments. I'm here to voice my support for the Zero Waste LA franchise system. The exclusive franchise system will divert a huge portion of our trash from landfills by finally allowing multifamily and commercial owners and residents to be able to recycle. I want to thank the city staff, the Bureau of Sanitation, and council members for all the time and work they've already spent refining and perfecting the best way to reduce LA's trash. Many hearings on the system have already been held. City staff have diligently researched other cities and took in input from many public sources. All stakeholders have had a chance to speak. As a result, all of the data and the input, even the draft EIR's recommendation, all point to the Zero Waste LA franchise system as the best solution to move forward. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Jackie Cornejo, Ruth Martinez, and Anisha Hingarami, please. And sergeants, if I could ask, I don't know if there's anybody outside that wanted to speak, if they could fill out a card so this way, if there's anybody out there, we don't deprive them of the opportunity.
Great. Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Jackie Cornejo. I'm the director of the Don't Waste LA project at Lane. Nearly 4 years ago, Lane launched the Don't Waste LA campaign alongside our coalition partners to transform the waste and recycling industry in Los Angeles with 3 primary goals: clean air, green jobs, good green jobs, and recycling for all. We commend the excellent and extremely thorough work the Bureau of Sanitation has undertaken to make this vision a reality. We have come a long way. And we commend the work of this new mayoral administration and the city council in shepherding this process to where we are today. You will hear from some of our longtime coalition members today, and we want to continue to express our gratitude for your leadership because we are well on our way to make history. LA will be the largest city in the country to create a robust and comprehensive plan to reach zero waste, and we will get there. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ruth Martinez. I am a resident and homeowner of Pacoima, and I also work with Pacoima Beautiful. We've been a longtime member of the Don't Waste LA Coalition. One of the reasons I bought a home in Pacoima is because of how friendly our community is, and right away, Pacoima just felt like home. However, we are all quite aware of the health risks existing here in the Northeast Valley and of the chronically polluted air and being home of many of the city's former landfills, brownfields, and other environmental hazards. We already have a problem with far too many of our neighbors and children suffering from asthma and other respiratory problems because of the large number of polluting diesel trucks driving through our streets. With this in mind, we need a franchise system that eliminates all the unnecessary truck traffics and that promotes haulers being efficient and taking trash to facilities in close proximity to where it's picked up. I appreciate all of the council and the city's work thus far to improve our environment and urge you to vote yes on the zero waste policy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Anisha Hingarani with the Los Angeles Food Policy Council, and we are a member of the Don't Waste LA Coalition. And we commend the city for its commitment to achieving zero waste by moving forward with the new exclusive franchise system. And we believe that food scraps recycling and composting could be an integral part of the new system and are pleased to see the 3-bin system included in the future component of the proposed project. Food waste, as you know, makes up a quarter of the city's total waste stream, and left to rot in landfills becomes a significant source of methane emissions. And food scraps, when properly recycled and composted, can be used to enhance the soil quality and water retention of our gardens and landscapes while increasing the food waste diversion from landfills. The green bin is the key to creating a clean food waste stream that can create healthy compost. And we applaud the option in the proposed ordinance for multifamily residents to request a green bin for food waste and encourage the city to consider strategies for eventually expanding the 3-bin system and food waste recycling for all commercial and multifamily residences. So we congratulate the city staff for their leadership, and thank you and for your time.
Thank you. Aaron Ballard, Wilfredo Landa, and Ron Saldana. Please begin.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Aaron Ballard. I'm the owner of Ballard's Framing in Echo Park off Sunset Boulevard, and I'm a dedicated supporter of Don't Waste LA Coalition. I've been part of the local business community here for several years now and have been long dismayed of the lack of affordable options for recycling. As an ecologically minded business, we have hated the ideas of throwing away our recyclables, our papers, and I personally have had to resort to taking those papers to my own blue bins. Also, many of the small businesses in my neighborhood arbitrarily pay different rates than our neighbors for the exact same service by different haulers, or by the same haulers. I was excited to learn about the Zero Waste LA franchise system, and its plan to make a source separate waste recycling and compost pickup affordable and available to all businesses of LA. Appreciate all of your work so far, and I urge you to vote yes on the Zero Waste LA policy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Ron Saldana. I'm the executive director of the Los Angeles County Disposal Association. I have just a couple of comments, and I'll run through them very quickly. First is a question: when will the FEIR and ordinance go to the council? If that's going to be discussed today, that would be good to know. And we did have a question on why it's not going to the Board of Public Works. We're wondering how that system works. As far as the draft RFP is concerned, we're wondering if that would be released for comment prior to the finalization of the RFP, and will the RFP be going to the Board of Public Works also prior to its release? We don't agree that the FEIR adequately covers the traffic analysis. We believe that further environmental review is needed after the franchise zones are awarded. It could very well be, depending upon which company has which area, would constitute some of the traffic patterns that we think need to be looked at. So we thank you.
Thank you very much.
Buenas tardes, miembros del comité. Mi nombre es Wilfredo Landaverde y trabajo como ayudante y trabajo en American Reclamation como ayudante de los conductores de basura de camión.
Permíteme un momento, ¿usted va a traducir? Sí. Perfecto, ¿por qué no nos ayuda a entender al resto de la audiencia qué anda diciendo el señor?
Como ayudante, trabajo.
Un momento, señor. It's your turn now to say a little something, and then we'll go back and forth.
Sure.
All right?
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Wilfredo Landa, and I'm a helper at American Reclamation. As a helper, I work alongside fellow truck drivers to make sure that trash is properly collected from businesses and apartment buildings.
Estoy aquí representando a los miles de hombres y mujeres que trabajan, que transportan y ordenan la basura y recycling cada día en Los Ángeles.
I'm here on behalf of the thousands of men and women who haul and sort commercial and multifamily waste and recycling every day in the city of LA.
Les agradezco por el trabajo que han hecho para mejorar nuestra seguridad en el trabajo. Les pido que voten en favor de adoptar la póliza de Zero Waste. Gracias.
I thank you for your work to improve our safety on the job and urge you to vote yes on the zero waste policy. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Doug Arsenal and John Howland. Are there any additional speakers who would like to fill out a card on item number 1? All right, these are our final speakers.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Doug Arsenal of the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA, representing more than 380 businesses in the city that have created over 100,000 jobs. We have carefully reviewed the final program EIR, and to ensure that this proposal is carried out in the most impactful manner, VICA has outlined a few foreseeable concerns. To ensure that our companies are not precluded from going above minimum waste diversion requirements, we must ensure that haulers do not force commercial entities to pay for services they do not utilize. We've seen this happen in several jurisdictions, and it only undermines efforts by companies and in many cases stops them from going beyond what is technically required. The annual time frame could also prove to be very disruptive to businesses. Under the proposed project, the city will establish a formula to determine how rates are charged for collection based on annual rates. In addition, the plan specifies that the city has the right to charge different rates in different zones, which could potentially lead to relocation of businesses from expensive zones to less expensive zones, leading the expensive zones with less industry and economic development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. John Howland, Central City Association. We're a business advocacy group representing over 450 businesses and 300,000 workers in downtown Los Angeles. I urge you to vote no on this. The final EIR shows that the stated goals of the policy are not being met. You still must vote to find there's a statement of overriding consideration. The goals are not being met, quite simply. You're putting a number of small businesses out of work. You're imposing new costs and burdens on businesses in the city of LA. And you're doing a message to businesses that you want to have relocate to Los Angeles and saying that even if you play by the rules, you do everything right, we're going to punish you along with the bad actors. And you're saying that even if you follow those rules, we can act unilaterally to put you out of business because labor cannot organize the old-fashioned way, and they're going to use the city council to do it. We urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Very good. Members, before we go to debate, Mr. Saldivar, if you wouldn't mind coming back up and helping the committee understand, assuming that there's a favorable recommendation from this committee and the council, what is sort of the timeline for the RFP, comment period, et cetera?
Thank you, Councilmember Fuentes. Our proposed schedule is the ultimate proposed implementation of the system is for it to be in early 2017. So working backwards from that date, we would be looking at releasing the RFP in June of this year. And it'll have adequate input and review time by all proposers. We had been contemplating doing a pre-release engagement with potential, but that only can complicate, the ultimate provisions of the RFP. So we will release the RFP in June, and then there's a pre-proposal meeting by which we will have all of the input that as openly and transparently as it can possibly be, because it'll have the actual document already out following the release. So I think we have it in August of this year. We will have a pre-proposal meeting. There will be negotiations, of course, with multiplicity. There will be all of the review that solicitation of this scale warrants. So it's going to be quite a bit of process for us and our consultants to sort through. But ultimately, the date in mind here would be early 2017. In between, I skip many big steps here of when we come back with recommendations. And to clarify who releases what, we go to the Board of Public Works with a request to approve the release of the RFP. So the Commission approves the release of the RFP. We do the evaluations, we hold negotiations, we come back to the Board of Public Works, the Commission, with recommendations, who then will approve or change or disapprove. From there, it goes to the mayor, and then from the mayor, it'll come to the council for your ultimate consideration before any franchises get awarded. So for the RFP release, we will not come back to council. But certainly for award of contracts, we will.
Very good. Mr. Huizar, as the maker of the motion, do you have any comments?
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think we've come a long way in making this possible. And I certainly want to thank the team at the Bureau of Sanitation who put a lot of time and effort. One of my questions is we put a lot of time and effort into outreaching when we put together our implementation plan. The CEQA requires us to do outreach as well. How was that outreach, and did you find anything different from the implementation outreach meetings to the CEQA outreach meetings? I mean, the public, what were their sentiment in this, generally speaking?
First of all, we did hold, just like through the implementation plan, we held, I believe it was 8 separate hearings on the draft EIR, where the process was gone through and presented. Then we received comments. So there was and the same stakeholder groups that participated in the implementation process were notified throughout the entire process for the EIR.
Okay.
So the same process, the same groups have been notified, and we just continue to keep adding to our stakeholder list. The same list was notified when the final EIR was released. An email blast went out to all of our stakeholders notifying that the final was done. So there's been a substantial involvement with the community throughout the entire process, including the EIR.
Okay. Thank you. And my only other question is the vehicle miles traveled, they increased in the proposed project, correct? Or is that not?
For the vehicle miles traveled, there's a couple different measurements. For vehicle miles traveled, there's actually a slight decrease over the existing conditions. Compared to the alternatives, there's a substantial decrease in vehicle miles traveled from the proposed project and the alternatives. But again, as you can see in the chart that was handed out during the initial presentation, the no project, slightly more vehicle miles traveled, but no additional diversion, no clean fuel trucks, no positive impacts on the air quality.
So there's additional environmental benefits, right, with
Absolutely.
the proposed. And when we started this process, we were assuming that the franchise was or an exclusive system would be the best environmental choice. I mean, that's why a lot of the advocates started this process and advocated to council members to venture on this path. And it's great to see that now with the EIR, we're kind of validating what we've always assumed, that going through an exclusive franchise system is the environmentally superior alternative. And can we safely say that that is what we're finding in the EIR? Just to summarize again.
So, after we looked at all of the environmental areas analyzed, and there were a lot of them, the proposed project was found to be the environmentally superior option. Looking at traffic, looking at air quality, it was the environmentally superior option.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you again. A long time coming, but I think this is one of the most important steps we can undertake in this process. And I think your staff, Enrique, did a fabulous job in getting us to this point, not only in terms of researching all the necessary facts and analyzing the facts and coming up with where we had to be and giving us a path and framework on this, but also going out to the community a number of times. And I know there was a lot of different groups that had some concern in terms like hospitals and the film industry, and it sounds like we have taken some of their concerns, most of their concerns into account, and how specialty industries in the area have needed some attention on this, and I think we've done that to the best ability. So thank you so much. I look forward to moving this forward. And again, thanks to all the advocates who have pushed the city to think and dream bigger about what's possible in terms of recycling, the environment, jobs, and providing a fair system for everyone to look to. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer. We'll accept that as a moving motion. Mr. Blumenfield.
Yes. Well, done a lot of work on this. We've been following it carefully, and you were talking about the hospitals and the movie industry. Just wanted to give you a chance to go into that a little bit. As I understand, those have been taken care of, but just wanted to give you a chance to explain how that works.
I'm sorry, that was movie industries, right?
Yeah, speak to the student, I'll speak to the hospital.
As directed by City Council when the implementation plan was approved, there is a system in place specifically designed to address the unique needs of the studios. It's important to point out that as a starting point, on-location shooting, given its transient nature, the fact that much of the materials, construction and demolition debris, doesn't fall under our definition of a commercial establishment and is not part of the franchise system. The remaining studios, we worked closely with them to come up with a scenario where, you know, all their needs are met while still participating in the franchise system itself. They're allowed to work with various franchise haulers, but they have to operate within the franchise system.
And for the hospitals, Councilman, thank you for urging us to work closely with them because it allowed us to really learn their business better. And that, you know, they have a multiplicity of special service requirements, certifications that they must always meet. They cannot trip over any one little thing that, whether it's from, you know, where they store it, how long it stays on the premises, access, security, a number of service special type of requirements. So we, as a commitment to the hospital industry, is that the RFP will be responsive to those unique and special service requirements by calling out specific areas of service needs that the haulers have to completely comply with, and ensuring that no hospital is ever compromised on their certification or any other requirement that they have because of the hauling service. So we addressed those service requirements, and we'll have them in the RFP.
And the other thing is, some of the opponents were raising issues about the businesses and that there's these extra burdens. But I think that we've been talking about this, and you've gone to extra lengths to try to lessen those burdens. I wonder if you could talk about that and the flexibilities that the businesses have and don't have.
Yeah, you want to?
Sure. Well, we had a lot of testimony from businesses, large and small, throughout the course of this process. And there's a number of things that we think will be a benefit to all the businesses in the city of Los Angeles. One of them is that we're going to strive to have equitable, if not the same rates across the entire city. They'll be predictable. Businesses will be able to plan for them, and they'll be a regular part of their business. It will not be up to the business to actually go out and try to solicit and go through that process over and over again. We intend with this process and with this system to raise the bar much higher regarding customer service. Customer service is going to be a keystone of this system. The haulers are going to have to communicate immediately and respond immediately to any service issues. They're going to be held to that by a series of liquidated damages, but they'll also be tied in with the city system so that there's no delay in meeting the business's needs and meeting them right away. As far as the hauling industry goes, one of the reasons we divided the city into 11 zones was to provide 3 zones that are smaller. They're still not small by any means, much larger than many cities, but they're small zones in the city of Los Angeles that we've made proximate to both the city-owned transfer facility and to recycling facilities, and those zones can only be awarded one at a time. So they can't be combined with any bundles or anything, and that we feel will give a lot of help to the medium-sized haulers or those haulers that might band together in a joint venture and come with a great proposals to do some work in those areas. So I think there's several things that we've done to try to mitigate any impacts, and we're going to continue to look for those as we move forward in this process.
Another thing that was raised, the labor peace agreement. was part of this, because there was originally some concerns about labor, and I believe that that's all been worked out, and wanted to give you a chance to explain that as well.
You know, that's an important piece to the security of ensuring that service is never interrupted. I mean, that's the huge leap we're taking here, is that we, the city, are making the representation that this service will not be interrupted. So it's important that such a provision be included so that we ensure no interruption in service. And that's what a labor peace agreement brings as a contractual requirement.
Thank you.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think all the questions I had have already been covered, but I do want to make a few comments, mostly to thank folks, Mr. Chair, for your leadership in getting this here today, our previous chair, Mr. Huizar, and author of this legislation, for all the work that you've put in and Martin's put in on your staff, Mr. LaBonge, Mr. Blumenfield, for all that you've done. I obviously want to congratulate Enrique, Karen, and the Bureau of Sanitation staff on the amazing months and months and months of work that you spent on this. I want to thank the City Attorney's Office for taking all the stuff we've thrown at them and turning this into an actual excellent ordinance. And I expect no less, of course, from Mike Fewer and his staff. I want to thank Lane and the Teamsters and Sierra Club and NRDC and everyone else for the focused advocacy that you've provided. We wouldn't have gotten here without your hard work. I also want to thank Andy Schroeder on my staff, who I sometimes like to say stands head and shoulders above people that engage in this endeavor. Certainly physically true, and he's always pushing for better and cleaner and safer stuff and less of a carbon footprint, so I appreciate that. And lastly, I want to thank Greg Good. He was in my office so often since we started this process, I sometimes forgot that he wasn't on my staff. And he's always done this hard work with a smile, and I appreciate the fact that Mayor Garcetti had the wisdom to bring him on to continue to oversee this process from the mayor's office. I think we need to acknowledge our accomplishments. In 2 short years, we are transforming the waste hauling system of one of the largest and most influential cities on the face of the planet. And I think that'll have impacts beyond just those in the city of Los Angeles. I mean, we're all worried about the climate crisis. It gets worse and worse every day that we hear about it. And this will be a gigantic step in the right direction in terms of reducing our greenhouse gases. And I think this will have a significant impact beyond the city of Los Angeles, as an example. Hopefully everyone in the city of Los Angeles knows what we've actually accomplished on a variety of fronts. We've instituted workers' rights and safety protections in every way possible. I think that's certainly important. We're going to be able to track diversion rates. So if you recycle a piece of plastic packaging, I believe at the end of this process we'll be confident that we know what it will become and that it actually will be recycled. I'm even confident that the entities that expressed the most concern, the hospitals, film studios, large LEED buildings, will all get as good or better service than they do today. I know they've all been concerned, but I think the result is very positive. So I want to acknowledge everybody's hard work. This is such an exciting project, and I think it will have a huge impact on Los Angeles and beyond.
Mr. LaBonge, would you like to thank anybody?
Well, I will. First, I just want to let you know, I want to thank our hardworking trash men and women of the city of Los Angeles, outside our own employees who are very special, you know, because they do the work that's out there, which is good. I think this is a coalition that's quite interesting. I had an idea to collect trash of municipal collection 4 days a week to take 600 trucks off the road, which I hope this may be something we can look at in the future, because if we're trying to real deal with this in a green way, which a lot of this is green, getting trucks off the road is real important to try to do that. And I know that's not as easy as I stated, but I think Enrique and the team at Sanitation could look at that again in the future. But it's so personal as trash, because I want to say this here, because in our business districts, people have relationships with their trash collector that are very special. And this is going to be a little bit of a shock when 2017 comes around for people who've had this relationship. I would gather if we went out, whether it's Brooklyn Avenue or out Sunland Boulevard or down Fairfax, if we interviewed the businesses or out on Ventura Boulevard, not everybody would realize this is coming, but it is coming. I got it. I support it. I just wanted to say that, but I want us to look at some things as our sensitivity to small business districts and how that works, and also the alleys. Alleys are a very component of our thing, and there's a mayor's representative here. There's no mayor's representative. The mayor's listening. Oh, Greg's here, but I know, but the mayor's representative, you're the representative on this issue. You're the senator of trash. That's how Paul was trying to get that to you. But I think we have to look, especially, and speaking of that, Paul, we share our district together, 4th and 5th, bumper to bumper. The alleys are old. Some of them are not fully improved with concrete, and the weight and weather predict what happens to the surface of the streets. And so I think that's an aspect that Public Works should look into as well as we go on. And I do think sometime, because this is going to, is all written about, will change a lot of things in a positive way. That being said, one of them is the challenges of how we pick up trash point by point by point, and what happens to the alleys, which you have to look at for that. And also the other thing that I did want to mention here that I made a little note on that is that anybody ever see the movie Damn Yankees with Ray Walston, Gwen Verdon, and who else was in that movie? Tab Hunter. And in the movie, a guy is a frustrated guy, and he's looking at the TV, and his Senators, the Damn Yankees, always lose to the Yankees. So the devil came, which was played by Ray Walston, and he said, man, I'll make you a young guy, and you could play for the Senators and beat the Yankees. And he did, but then he would have to leave his wife forever. And he said he'd do it, not to leave his wife forever, if there was an escape clause. So here's the question, Enrique. 2017, 2018, 2019, is there an escape clause in this? What if we find that it is not working as we all say it's going to work? How does that, what if we really find, because trash is very personal and also very personal. I said personable, that's for live trash, but personal too. So I know it affects people. Is there an escape clause, that on this? How do we do it if this,
because of the significant investment that is going to be made by the eventual awardees and franchisees, we have to provide with certainty of term, and that is a 10-year engagement with a potential for a 5-year increase. So the answer to your question and the immediacy is that there's a 10-year window in which we could revisit, for sure. Now, if there's some other force majeure or some other contractual breach or something else, of course, we have plenty of provisions for that kind of an exit.
And I think the rollout should be from whether it's east, west, south, or north, rolling one way. So you get it in an area, let's say all the San Fernando Valley first, or all the harbor area first, or whatever, so you see it as it's an operational. So it can be changed. If we do it all overnight, I think it may have impact, but you'll have to figure that out, right? As it goes. So I just think it's real important that you look at it. And I as I told the advocate, especially Mr. Good in the beginning, I'm a lover of trash in the sense of those who collect it and distribute it to the proper landfills and recycling. And the new process we're going to do is try to do some power. But at the same time, I'm cautious this, but I do give the support for this because of the work that everybody's done. But I also want to keep our eyes wide open. If we have to make adjustments, that we come right back to council if it's a significant thing.
Right.
Because I think it's just a very big change that we're going through on that. So with that, I'm ready to vote when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Members, any additional questions? Hearing and seeing none, without objection, we will adopt the recommendations in the March 13th, 2014 CAO report to this committee.
Just one last question. I just had this here. I saw this side post them. Is UCLA affected by this?
Schools are not.
The USC not affected?
Private. That's a private school. I think they are.
It is? That's, I think, important because there's a rivalry that's going to be bigger than the football game on this issue.
Yeah.
All right, you got to figure that out. There may be some adjustment on that. Because both the medical center, which is so important, with the big county hospitals and the mixture up in Eastlake, as well as the main campus. But the community college is not affected because they're state-run, and state college is not affected.
Right.
Okay.
Very good. Mr. Prieto, without objection, the March 13, 2014 recommendations will stand.
Okay.
Very good. Item number 4.
Item number 4 relates to DGP report relative to proposed revised amendment number 4 to agreement with Sodexo America provides food services to John Ferraro building. We have staff from Department of Water and Power on the stand.
If we could have a little order, please. If we can have the staff from, I'm sorry, we're conducting a meeting, sir. Item number 4, if we can go ahead and have the staff come up.
This is number 4?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead. Would you just ask, just tell the committee you had a passing of one of your members, Plunkage. Just tell the committee he was a great worker, a 25-year worker. Please, I wasn't able to attend, but so they all know the wonderful man who worked for Water, Power, and Water section.
Certainly. Thank you, Councilman. Marty Adams from Department of Water and Power. A few weeks ago, we lost our former Director of Water Quality, Dr. Pankaj Parekh. He was a icon in the water quality industry.
Right.
He'd done work overseas as a young man. He was a champion for water quality in the city of LA, and he was very involved both statewide and nationally in water quality issues with a great concern for the public and especially for underprivileged communities, and very concerned for the drinking water standards and how we provide good quality drinking water and set the stage for the years ahead for the Department of Water and Power as well as the rest of the state. So we greatly miss him. He suffered from a motorcycle accident almost 3 years ago. Although he continued to be, even though he was unable to come to work, he continued to be involved and provide influence and guidance to us. So we regret that he passed away.
I just wanted to tell about Plunkage, what a special person he was. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
For bringing that to our attention. And Mr. Labange, we should adjourn in his memory as soon as we can. It's sad to hear the news. If you could give us a brief presentation on the revision, and we've got a couple of speaker cards after that, please.
Yes, thank you again. Marty Adams from Department of Water and Power, and Gary Wong is with me from the department as well. What we have to do today is a revision to an extension for a contract with Sodexo Corporation to reopen the department's cafeteria. As you know, it's been closed for a few months now, and has really caused an interesting situation at work where we're not really situated in a place with a lot of food service around us, nor are we equipped for a lot of employees to be bringing food into the department or have appropriate kitchen facilities for that. This contract, as opposed to the last, it does provide the time for us to develop a better business model. It gives us time to bring a consultant on board, look for how we can find a viable cafeteria option. Our cafeteria was viable for all the department's history until 9/11, in which time we had to secure our facility better, and it became, it just no longer was a workable situation.
Marty, I'm going to interrupt you only because we do have that 3 o'clock a meeting. Can you just sort of give us the bullet points on what changed so that we can get to these?
Okay, so the key changes here is that we've reduced the minimum catering service obligation by 30%. So we reduced the obligation by 30%, so that's significant savings. that we'll see in terms of what the department's obligations are, and it also provides for quarterly averaging of the billing so that it better matches the department's usage. And then how we'll utilize this contract is that we have different food service needs throughout the city for functions that we sponsor and provide for, and we're going to aggregate those under this contract so that we are making use of that minimum obligation by actually using food services there, and that'll actually bring about a savings in what we see where we have this contract and then other contracts throughout the city that are supplementing it. We'll make this the primary contract for all those services, and it'll result in a savings to the ratepayers.
Very good. If it's okay, we'll go ahead and take the two speaker cards, and hopefully we'll have no debate on it because I think this has been fixed significantly here. Is Ana Vallardos here? I'm sorry, Valladares and Miguel Fernandez? If you can come and testify, please. If you all wouldn't mind giving them a little room so this way we can... please. Please begin.
Hello, my name is Ana Valladares. I'm here because I want to vote yes, number 4. And I'm working for WP 25 years. And I'm a cashier. And I'm so bad, when told me the cafeteria was going to close. My husband and my 3 children is living with me. And my husband is diabetic. He's in my health plan, insurance. The WP, give it to donation, for when the cafeteria closed and feel so bad. And people so be nice, they were in power. But I want my job back. I want you both yes and number 4, please. And thank us, for, health insurance, very important for us,
Very good. Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you.
Thanks. My name is Miguel Fernandez. I work for the cafeteria in DWP for 31 years. Most of the time I work on the grill station and for more than 20 years. And I have a wife and 4 kids, all living with me. And they are on my health insurance. And I make a service for more than 100 places every day over there in the cafeteria for the employees for the cafeteria to work over there. And when they told me the cafeteria going to be closed for so long, I didn't believe it. We need a job. We have a family and health insurance is very important for us. There's more than 14 families needs a job and health insurance, We need to ask you, please vote yes on item number 404.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, if it's okay with you all, I've been working very closely with Commission President Mel Levine to try to make this more agreeable to the committee because I had heard concerns. We were able to reduce the monthly guarantee by 30%. We also are going to be able to examine it on a quarter-by-quarter basis. But even then, we're going to have to work very closely with our partners at the Department of Water and Power to make sure that we get a sustainable model put in place there. And so, as a result, if it's okay with you all, I'd like to move that we approve the proposed revised Fourth Amendment to the Sodexo contract at the JFB and request DWP to provide an update in 90 days to the committee on the status of the latest RFP so that we can get to a more systemic fix. And if it's okay with you all, I'd like to move that unanimously so that we can adjourn this meeting and proceed to the next one.
Just a technical question, if you could explain that for me. When you use the term...
JFB is the John Ferraro building.
Very good. Thank you very much. I just wanted to hear it. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oh.
2 very quick questions. One, do we automatically rehire the employees
Yes.
that are testifying
Yes.
and have been loyal for so many years?
All
Good.
worked out.
And second, to ensure that we follow the city's good food purchasing guidelines, is that part of the RFP, or does that need a separate motion to guarantee that
So
that's
as
looked
we're
at?
working with the department over the course of the next 90 days, we will make sure that we incorporate those and all the other issues that we'd like to see in the RFP.
Very good.
Very good. Mr. Weezer.
I was going to ask similar questions, but thank you, Mr. Chair, for helping put this together. I know you spent some time on this, and it was a important issue, and I appreciate your efforts in putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer. And Mr. Blumenfield.
Yeah, given the full faith and confidence I have in our chair and Mr. Levine, and I know you guys are working hard on this, and because I really want to see these workers get back, I want to support this, but I do want to, and I will support this as we move forward, but I do want to put on record, I still have concerns about the fact that we are subsidizing this unlike we subsidize any other facility, homeboy down here that has a social mission. We don't subsidize in quite the same way. And I understand this is an interim step, so we get to the RFP and we make this work right. So I just want to sort of put out that I still have serious concerns about the way that it's structured, but I really want to see them get back to work, and I would be happy to work with you as we move forward on making this into a much better arrangement for our fiduciary responsibility as a city.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield, and we will see this come back to the committee to make sure that we do fix it. Thank you, Mr. LeBlanche.
One other technical thing, Water Power does have a tremendous cafeteria. In previous times, which were not the times we live in now, jurors, visitors, county workers, anybody who was up there would be able to go to their cafeteria. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm looking for someone from Joint who's here from Water and Power. Do you allow outsiders to eat in your cafeteria anymore? They still do? Jurors could eat?
They didn't.
Yeah, they didn't,
which
but you
was part
opened
of
it
the
up.
problem, and so now we've reopened it.
Reopened it.
We're looking for a better model to make sure that we have a sustainable business model so that we don't have to rely so much on
Got it.
the Treasury.
Super, okay.
Point of order, Mr. President, Mr. Chair. That wasn't technical as he said it was going to be. So.
Yeah, that's correct. Mr. Weezer, you're absolutely correct. Mr. LeBlanche, you're out of order.
He's a Princeton guy.
That being said, colleagues, we will go ahead and unanimously approve item number 4. We will see the department back in 90 days or sooner as we work through this to make sure that we get a good model working. With that, I do not have any cards for public comment. It doesn't appear. So we'll go ahead and adjourn the Energy and Environment Committee meeting, and we will come back in a few minutes as we get